Hello everyone, and welcome to The Opinion Piece, the show where I give my unfiltered, unscripted opinions on a gaming-related topic. Today's topic... So a few days ago, after basically after a temporary amount of silence and ambiguity, the world finally got its first look at the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and my god, I cannot recall the last time I saw so much negativity directed at a video game thing at all. Now, originally this video was going to be me sitting down and just giving my genuine, thoughts and first impressions about the film, just doing what I normally do and just present an opinion, just kind of present just a straightforward, thought about, the film as itself as a whole. What works and what doesn't based on what little we got to see. But that's not the fucking case anymore, because after a few days of following this, an interesting development has just occurred, and I'm going to talk about that instead. So, yesterday, the director of the film, Jeff Fowler, basically went to Twitter to speak on behalf of the entire production team to basically address the big ass elephant in the room and reassure people, and this is what he had to say about it. Thank you for the support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making this character the best he can be. Hashtag Sonic movie, hashtag gotta fix fast. And what some may take away from this is, oh yeah, it's a great thing. Oh yeah, they're listening to us, the fans. They're listening to us. They heard us loud and clear, and they're gonna make the change to make this the movie that we want to see. But that's not how I'm interpreting this. No, because I'm not gonna pretend that I know that I can. I'm not gonna try to speak for this guy. I'm not gonna pretend that I know what thought process went into this post and what went into into this big decision. I'm just going off of what I'm just gonna make a knowledgeable assumption here, I guess, if you will. Because what my takeaway from this, my interpretation of this is after, hey, all of this negativity and shit posting can have a potential negative impact on the potential success of our film. So, instead of sticking to our guns, we're going to roll in. We're basically going to give into said demands to protect the potential success of our feature film. And we're going to take all of the hard work of our designers, animators who have already contributed so much time, who knows how much time, into completing the footage that we have done so far, and throw all of that work down the drain so we can redo the design, reincorporate it into the film, and do all of this work on time so we can still get it out on our anticipated release date. It's not, I know that's a bit of it sounds like an exaggeration, but that's basically what that feels like. And I don't have a reaction, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating. Because I feel like people are not seeing the bigger picture here. Yes, in many instances, it's perfectly fine to, voice your complaints and voice your criticism and, voice a criticism. But what basically happened here was fans had to be so negative, so vulgar, so relentless with their shitposting that they basically badgered an entire production into giving into their demands for a movie they're not even probably going to give the time of day or actually go at or even remotely enjoy. And it's going to cost the production God knows how much money. But what I'm mostly concerned about is how much it's going to cost the dedicated man hours, those aforementioned artists, animators, just the entire production team, just to give into this demand of redesigning the character. Now, I personally am not the biggest fan of the design. I mean, I look at it and yeah, it's not great, but it's not the worst thing ever. We have plenty of examples of what happens when we get shitty, character designs in video game movies. I'll put some here on the screen for reference. And this is not the worst of it. It's not great, but it's not complete shit. So the fact that people were so rubbed the wrong way that they basically had to badger an entire production into changing it and costing them, you know, it costing them so many man hours and so much time and, you know, dedication into a movie that probably wasn't going to do that well to begin with, just to throw all of that away, so they have to go basically back to the drawing board to change it in time for, you know, and do who knows how much crunch time just to make a crucial change in time for the release, is fucking infuriating. Just because, you know, this thing rubbed them the wrong way and they weren't looking at the bigger picture here. Now, if this was a video game, you know, I can understand, like, alright, making changes, like, I mean, to change, you know, games, you know, evolve and change over the course of the dev cycle. But what's pissing me off the most here is that we're talking about a feature film here, we're talking about a production. We're talking about something that usually, yeah, in many cases, you know, adapt and evolve over the course of the process. But when you're trying to take something that also has a heavy emphasis on animation, you're talking about taking it's a feature film that has live action blended with with the main character being a CG character. You're blending that stuff together. That's not going to be an easy fix that you can do in editing. You're basically talking about, oh, they're going to change what I most likely will assume is almost the entire character. Excuse me, I don't know, I'm getting all nasally for all the sun. But basically changing the basically changing the entire design of the character because that's what the fans want. And it's, my God, I can barely compose myself enough to like say anything. Like, it's just fucking frustrating that, you know, people could be this like negative and self-centered to think that, like, to be like, oh, it's so ungodly, it's so terrible, we have to, like, oh, I don't like this, like you need to change this. Like, no, that's not how film production works. That's not really how that works. Like, when this is what they're doing, this is what they're happening, they commit to it, and they have to roll with it. Because, like I said, this is going to basically cost them a ton of money and a ton of man hours, just because a bunch of fan people, you know, a bunch of, you know, fans were not content with the design and got and had to be so vocal and pissy about it that they basically badgered an entire production into, you know, giving into their ridiculous demands. That's just not fair. And that's just not right. This, like, I look at this post and, like, this is not the words, these are not words of someone, are not just the words of somebody that wants to, you know, make this character, this iconic video game character, the best he can be on the big screen. These someone, like, people that are passionate about the brand, and in light of all of, like, the back and forth blunders with video games, want to do him some justice, you know, with a feature film, which is exciting in its own right. But when people have to be so negative and dump on it that they basically, in order to potentially salvage and save the production and basically ensure its success by throwing already so much work down the drain and giving into what people want, is not right. And again, it's not a video game, it's not an actual video game where, yes, changes are made over time, and when people don't like something, stuff can be taken out and removed fairly easily. With film, once this movie, like, once the footage is shot and once they're going into post-production, it's basically set in stone. It's just a matter of cutting it all together and then, you know, finalizing it and then distributing it to theaters. It's not that simplistic, but it kind of is. So to basically tell them that you are so uncontent with a design when you haven't even, when this is your first glimpse of the film, when, who knows, maybe the design isn't the worst thing about it, and maybe that aside, the movie can actually be really solid and kind of entertaining. I know I'm still kind of neutral about it personally, but, and that the design, you know, doesn't rub me that much the wrong way. Like, I don't care about the design being bad, I just care that the movie doesn't look that great as a whole. But to be so negative about one aspect of the film, or I guess, you know, something so central to it, that you have to badger an entire production into saying that you don't like it so much that they basically have to throw all this work down the drain and do all of this stuff more or less last second just to appease you, even though you're still most likely not going to see the movie, you're not going to give them your money so they can make a good return investment on this potentially high-risk project, is not only just mean, it's just disrespectful. It's not right. In some other circumstances, this wouldn't be a problem. This would be an instance of, oh, they're listening to the fans, they're listening to the feedback, and this could mean good things. But in this case, no. You're talking about something that's already set, that's more or less set in stone, but because you had to be so because whoever, like, I guess you out there, had to be so negative about this that they now have to basically, scramble to, make changes in time for the release date and deliver a movie that most likely is not going to be as successful as you want it, and you're still, and whatever. It's just frustrating. It's a clusterfuck of a situation, and I guess all I really have to say about it is, whoever you are out there who had bad things to say about this, genuinely bad things to say about that caused this to happen, not just in good fun, not just, poking fun, like, genuinely were of the mass of people that resulted in this happening, I hope you're happy with this, and the least you can do is give this movie the chance when it finally hits theaters and go see it. And let it be let that be the end of the discussion. So what do you, the audience, think? Did the design rub you the wrong way? Were you very critical and vocal about this, or are you just kind of glad, or are you just kind of neutral about this, and are like, it's not that big of a deal. I want to see more. I'm kind of looking forward to the film. Like, where do you stand on this? Where do you stand on this? Don't be afraid to post those thoughts in the comments. Let's, I guess, maybe talk about this, I suppose. And yeah, thanks very much for watching, and take care.